Everyone argues about Eddie Van Halen's biggest mistake. Was it switching to keyboards? Was it the revolving door of singers? Was it not releasing enough music? No. Eddie Van Halen's greatest failure might be something almost no one ever talks about. Yes, that's right, a cheap computer, and because of that, thousands of hours of brilliant Van Halen music might never be heard. So the worst part about all of this is that Eddie knew exactly what had been lost, and he didn't foresee any chance that someone would get into the archive and be able to find out what was good and what was bad due to the fact that the index was lost for all of the songs. So in this sense, the loss of the 5150 Studios archives represents the loss of thousands of hours of recorded music, of ideas, riffs, experiment, jams. In fact, it's a lifetime of creativity captured because Eddie spent almost all of his time in 5150 Studios making music. But to organize all of that brilliant music and all of those jams and all of those ideas, he used a cheap Radio Shack computer. And because it failed one day, none of us are going to get to hear the music because the recordings are a maze. Thousands of hours of tapes and files without labels, no timestamps, no searchable structure. It's like losing the table of contents to the greatest book ever written. Somewhere in all of this could be fully formed songs, alternate versions of classic songs, experimental ideas, and even new guitar techniques. But finding them might take years, if not decades. And here's the reality. Even the people closest to Eddie, like Wolfgang Van Halen or Alex Van Halen, who have access to the archive, will probably never fully search or recover it, not because they don't care, but because the task is overwhelming. We're talking about sorting through all of these thousands of hours of music manually, identifying fragments with no context, and reconstructing the intent without notes or Eddie there to explain it. This goes way beyond archive. It becomes a kind of musical archaeology. And it seems like maybe someone might dip into it someday, but it probably won't happen anytime soon. So what was Eddie Van Halen's greatest fail? It wasn't musical, it wasn't personal, it wasn't logistical. At least from my point of view, his biggest fail was that he used a cheap computer in his studio and may have made the best parts of his posthumous legacy unreachable. But here's the twist. There's something almost poetic in all this. Eddie wasn't really interested in archives. He wasn't thinking about history, and in a strange way, his fail proves something that he wasn't necessarily curating a legacy, he was living out the music. So let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below.
Music Guru here, asking you to help us on our march to 10,000 subscribers.